our first instinct as a culture when somebody has a baby is to immediately ask about the baby and blah, 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 baby, baby, baby. And then the conversation kind of ends, and the person who actually is caring for the baby somehow just fades into the background. And it is a message, unfortunately, to the birthing person that once you've had a baby, that you somehow no longer matter as much as a person or just matter as much, period, as you used to. And it's really, we should always be pushing back against that. It is harmful in so many ways. And if you're not taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your baby, you're taking care of your child. And yes, it's really important to take care of yourself. I hate saying that, honestly, because it's one of those things that we get all these little self-help things from our employers or whatever. Take the time for self-care. It's like, you sending me to a all-day spa, please? You're like, oh, somewhere between the dirty diapers and trying to get enough sleep, I'm supposed to do something for myself. Like drink a hot cup of coffee, I swear. So yeah, it needs to be, we need to deliver a message which is a little stronger than that.
And I think I just recently, I think it may have been a Facebook video or TikTok of how she's a first-time mother, and you know, she's been kind of real about why the F didn't you guys tell me about this, and you know, like just kind of like, wow, this happens after postpartum. But she had a serious video, and she's like, you know, we go to these doctor's appointments every week, you know, especially in the last 4 weeks, and you know, where you are the focus, and then you go have this baby, and then it's like, and then you're just left there. Like, you're left to figure it out. You're left with baby blues, your hormones going everywhere, and the baby keeps getting followed up by the doctor. But, you know, and I think a lot of people feel a connection with the nurses at the doctor's offices and, you know, and the doctors as well. And then you go home. I'll see you in usually 6 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks. And that is it. Like, you're going from all this focus, and then the focus is this baby. And then the mom just is kind of just in the background. So, and I was like, you know, and it is true. It is true that, and I think there is a shift now coming, that people are recognizing that, and, you know, and especially the mother's mental health after she's birthed this child and everything. So I'm glad to see that. I think we have a long way to go in society for new parents on either side. I mean, in general, but yeah.
You know, it's really weird. I can put out all these videos about all these different things, and they'll all get watched, and we'll get comments, and we'll get whatever. But whenever I put anything like in the title about taking care of yourself, you know, self-care, are you like, let's talk about you, let's deal with you, let's, you know, anything that has to do with like taking care of you, those are actually my lowest watched videos. And it kind of breaks my heart, to be honest, because I'm like, those are some of the ones that have normally the best little tidbits of information of somebody being like, this is what you need to do to whatever. And, you know, and like, just go here. And this is important for you. And I'm always like, man, there's such good stuff in that video too. And people aren't really watching it because for whatever reason, we have this thing like, I don't know where it came in, somewhere in there. There's like, when you take care of yourself, it's almost like selfish, but you kind of have to take care of yourself, because if you're not getting enough sleep while you're dealing with an infant child, you start to feel a little like at ends, like you're like, you know, and it's really not good for the child or anyone else, like especially you. And so there's you have to kind of have a little bit of a balance. And it's really sad that we've gotten to that point of exactly what you're saying, is that once we have a kid, like, it's not about us in any way, shape, or form. And we kind of just get lost in, you know, whatever. And they get all their checkups all the time, and, you know, and they have their own special doctor and all this. But then we have to think, we have a special doctor too. So we can call when things are going on too, but we kind of forget that there's probably stuff going on that we might need to be taking care of. And actually, that was one of the ways that I found out that I have PTSD was I'm not taking care of myself. I'm so engulfed in my son and feeding him and taking care of him and being a mom and just so super focused on him that I found I feed him first. I do all these things first, and he gets everything first treatment, and he gets the best treatment. And then there's me. And I'm like eating like now I'm like, oh, I've been cooking and I really don't want to cook myself food. I'm just gonna have a bagel. Like like literally that's what's happening. I'm making him all this like almost like gourmet, and he's sitting down with all these courses of this meal. And then there's me where I'm like, oh, I don't want to make all this stuff, when it's like, I didn't think like maybe you should be making yourself at the same time this food. And honestly, this was actually how I figured out that I have PTSD. It's because I'm so lost in another world that I'm just not taking care of myself. And I did not know. And that's exactly was one of the number one signs was they were like, you're not eating properly. You're not eating. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, but I'm somehow feeding my kid fruits and vegetables and doing all this stuff. And then they're like, what are you eating? Well, they're like, well, you probably should be eating the fruits and vegetables. Like, but for some reason, it's almost like this weird, it's hard to explain, but it's almost like I feel like he's got to have everything. And then me, I'm like, no, I can't. That's his food. No, that's your food too. Like that just shows the disconnect of our self-care.
we need to do a video called Selfish Parents Are Right. I can do for my child, I can do for myself. I mean, that's the one thing we should probably tell people is do for yourself. What have you done for yourself lately? I mean, just you, nobody else. Whether it's got sushi or Starbucks or took a walk without anybody.
I think there was a post recently in the Safe Sleep group of you are still a person. Your identity is not in your children. And that was something for a long time. It took me a lot to even, realize, but having that post in groups, especially with new parents, younger parents, and even older, I mean, you kind of get lost in your kids and their identity, but just reading some of the replies in that was eye-opening. And I'll admit, my kids love sushi. I will go pick up sushi and eat it in my car and take out, and, and just that's my self-care, but there's so many different ways. But it reminded me of a meme, Danielle, what you were saying, like you're giving your kid all this healthy food and everything and making sure he's taken care of, when you're doing your best. It's the meme with the oxygen mask. You've always got, and that's on the airplane when the pilot always says you have to put your oxygen mask on first before you help the person next to you, even if it's your kid. Take care of yourself first.
Which is funny that you brought that one up, because actually I think my therapist like a few weeks ago actually that's exactly what she said. She was like, just remember when you're on a plane and stuff starts going on, you have to put yours on before you put his on. And I was like, wow, you're just like, because it was just kind of one of those where she's like, what do you get? But I struggle with some other stuff of why this is going on, of why I have like it's really weird. It's a very complicated, weird thing, but that's my best example that I can give you, is that I give him like all these things and do all this stuff. And then I'm kind of like, it's funny about the tons of kids, because I remember my grandmother was a stay-at-home mom, and she always ate standing up in the kitchen, and everybody sat down, and so because I seen that, I was like, I will never do that. I will always make a time to sit down and eat my food. And so my life is a little bit different, because my mom actually was military. So my mom left. So my mom wasn't around. I didn't get to see the other side of what my mom would have did different. She would have been standing in the kitchen, eating her dinner, whatever that she made for everybody, or would she have sat down too? And my mom makes it a point to sit down and eat her meals, but she also dealt with being in the military where you only had so many minutes to eat your food. and then you were like, whatever. So she has that mentality of like, I'm going to sit here and take my time. So when you go to lunch with her, it's not like a normal like hour lunch. She likes to sit and you're like there for like a couple hours because she really likes to take her time and taste her food, and she appreciates it of another way. And so me, for whatever reason, because of all my stuff that's been going on, and I've just been not dealing with my issues of what's in my head basically. But I have lost my taste of food. And I know that sounds really weird, but I love food. I love food. I love going out to eat. I love all the different things. I love food. It's like, if you don't buy me gifts, don't take me out, just bring me food. I have this love for food that I can't even explain. And it's always been like that. And then for whatever reason, over the past so many years, I've noticed, I mean, now I have a 4-year-old, but over the years, I'm kind of like, oh, I don't care. Like, it's become, my love for food has really changed, and it's kind of been more dull and boring. And so I'm struggling trying to get back to like where my love for food is. And that's where it's like, I know I'm changing and all this stuff, but that's what's going on, is I'm trying to change my ways and get back into a different way of like a healthier living, because before I was like eating everything, and now I'm kind of like, no. What's fast? It's really fast.
Well, can I eat fast? Yeah.
When you have a toddler, you're kind of like, I kind of realized that I spend a lot of my time like trying to make sure my kid survives.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like where your mindset goes. And now it's like he's more independent. So I can like,
You can actually
Kinda take
go
a
to
break.
the kitchen and do things in the kitchen without
him.
without
He can go in
little,
the other room and do stuff. And I don't have to be really stressed out. But that's exactly how it was before I noticed I spent, if you ask me, like, what have you been doing? Like for the first at least 2 years of his life, I'm like keeping him alive. Literally, that's what it was. Like, what have you been doing? Keeping him alive. I'm not doing anything else. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just keeping him alive. And then by the time he turned 3, I started realizing that I was doing it. And now he just turned 4. So I'm like, I got to get back. I got to slowly kind of get back here a little bit. It's like be a mom, but I also I got to take care of myself, because I'm not a very healthy mom if I'm not taking care of myself. You know what I mean? Like I'm not doing good. I'm not good for him if I'm not. And you notice, because you have less energy, or, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. If you're not eating well, sleeping well, taking care of yourself, taking that little bit of time for you, like, can make you grumpy. Like there's a lot of things that can happen. And well, I deal with it at a whole nother level that I wish I didn't have to deal with. But it is what it
Well,
is.
it's good that you finally recognize those signs and getting help. I mean, with not finding joy in things that you once did, that's pretty serious. So I'm proud of you for going and getting the help.
No, thank you. No, it's
Focusing on yourself.
Yeah, it's an ongoing journey, and I'm trying to get back into yoga, but then now my kid wants to do yoga more than I do, which is kind of funny. Because I'm like, oh, we're not going to do yoga all day long. Like that's not what yoga's for.
oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Get him put a mat out in the living room. Let him have fun. You can watch him.
Literally was like, let's do yoga. And I'm
Or
like,
tell him to go do yoga while you cook a good meal or order out or something like that.
He does pretty good. He's pretty funny. Like that's what and of course Michael's like, oh my God, what did you do to our kid? He wants to do.
I could think of so many worse things that kids could get into other than yoga. At least yoga, low equipment, low space, not too many opportunities to injure yourself.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that annoys me about the whole bad mom meme, mantra, trope, whatever, is the fact that something that you did when you were not a parent suddenly becomes a bad thing to do when you are a parent. And I'm not talking getting smashed or anything. I'm just talking about, what did you do when you were not a parent that you would get criticized for now? I mean,
Going on vacation without your kid.
by yourself.
Yeah. Went out with girlfriends for an evening of, dinner and dancing, and left my kid at home with their father.
Or even a babysitter.
dare
I
you.
mean,
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
I mean, it's
Right.
kind of funny because people are like, oh, grandma takes them for a weekend. I'm like, and everyone thinks, oh, that's pretty cool as long as you don't do it too often. Can't be sitting there dumping the kids on grandma too often, then you're a bad mom. But yeah, did you go do something that you didn't strictly have to do at all? I mean, that's the funny thing. It's just the luxury of going and doing something that you didn't have to do. It wasn't a meeting, it wasn't a convention for work, it wasn't, required travel. It was like, you went to a wedding when your child was 6 weeks old. Oh my gosh, how could you do such a thing? What are you going to do? Put your life on hold for 2 years? Is that your plan?
Or the whole, I can't believe you let somebody come over when your baby's a newborn and stay up with them at night, or so you can get a whole good night's sleep, or sending your baby to the nursery, to get some good sleep. Like, you have to sacrifice so much. That's at least that's what the trope is, and you get judged for it. You get judged if your best friend, or you even had some money and hired a night doula to come over. Or I'll call it maybe not a night doula. There are some great doulas that are not involved with the birth, but after process too. Like, those are the magical people, and the people that the doulas you should hire if you have the money to come over at night, clean the bottles, whatever, and just change the baby. So both mom, partner, everybody can get a good night's sleep. And when you have so much more sleep, you function so much better. So much better. But yeah, that was one of the things about judgment too.
The hardest thing as a parent I found was the fact that you didn't get a break. You didn't get a break. There was no, my workday ends at 6 p.m. and then I'm off for 4 hours and then, whatever. It was the fact that you never got a break. And the fact that if I had someone to come in 3 times a week for 4 hours, and so I could just go grocery shopping, take a nap, take a walk, that would be marvelous, because then you would know that at some point in time you were going to not be doing this all the time. Somebody else, when the baby cries, it was not going to be your problem. You were just going to be gone. But the other thing I had, my husband's listening. Anyhow, one of the things I had a problem with my husband is he's like, oh, go do something. I'd be like, oh, okay. I'd go, I'd come back. The kids would be hungry. Maybe they'd eat diaper changes. The kitchen would be at least as much of a wreck as I left it. It would be like, no, I want to come back and have things. It's more than just leaving from chaos and coming back to chaos. It's like, at some point in time, you want not chaos, or at least, like I said, having someone come in for 4 hours and doing your laundry and washing your dishes. You could walk into your kitchen and be clean. I'd be like, hallelujah. Mm-hmm. Just for once a week, I could have a clean kitchen. And it wouldn't be me cleaning it.
It gives you some of that time too, and the mental load of it all too.
Oh yeah.
One less thing to worry about. Yes, I can relate. I think a lot of us can relate. The majority.
I think I heard there was a group, there was somebody that was talking about how she did once a week on like Friday or whatever her day was that she picked of the week, she would go off for like a couple hours. And she said that her thing was like, she's like, I didn't go grocery shopping. I didn't do anything. She's like, I would just go like walk around the mall. Like, she's like, I didn't even buy anything. I just would go walk around and just get my time. Maybe I'd get a coffee or something and I'd walk around the mall and just have like my time to myself. And people, like, some people got it and some people didn't get it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, some people were like, wow, that's a great idea. And then some people were like, you left your kids for no reason. It was like, she needed that time. And then I heard somebody else say that like, every Saturday they have date night. Every Saturday they do something where somebody comes over, where they have a babysitter or a family member, somebody comes over and watches the kids. And they were all little kids too. And maybe like under 5, few kids. And that's what they did every week. And that like was the little bit that they both needed. And I was like, that's nice. That's a nice idea. And at the time when I read this, I was like way up north. And I was like, that's nice, but we don't have any money. It's nicer if we lived in Vegas, and then we're back in Vegas. And I'm like, okay, like it doesn't happen as what you think anymore. But it sounds nice. It sounds like a nice little thing. But
Well, the thing is, the people who don't understand why she went mall walking for 2 hours probably had another something that they'd rather do with their time, which is okay.
great.
If you want to get a mani-pedi, which I have zero interest in, do it. Get your hair done, do it. Go
Right.
visit with your mom in a nursing home, do it. Go, I don't know, volunteer, do nothing. I don't care. But, the one thing is, what is this? Oh, the Bechdel test about movies, where two women have to talk about something which wasn't, what is it? Men or clothing or fashion. So it's kind of like the test of your me time is, can you go do something that has nothing to do with being a partner or being a parent? It strictly has to be something that you would have done before children.
And this
Yeah.
goes for working parents too, because I think, on both sides they get judged,
Yeah.
but especially working parents because they're already outside the home. The child is most likely in childcare, be it with grandma or a provider, and they get judged for that because then they're away from their kid even longer. So all sides. And then I think with COVID, especially within the last year, everybody is confined to their own home. So self-care definitely was lost. And I think some people did a great job or even developed even healthier habits because they were able to focus, but a lot of people lost that or didn't have it before and it just made it worse. So definitely think this is a good topic.
Okay.
And mine's gardening. My actually wasn't even
Oh.
my idea, but that's like my new thing. I never thought I love plants. I do. I love plants, but I was like, oh, I kill them. Like they can't stay alive in my house and whatever. And now we have a garden out back with I don't even know how many plants. And we go out there every day and have to water them and check them and do all this stuff. And it's been a fun little adventure to the point of like, I'm online, but I kind of have not really been online all the time. Like I just, I'm a mom and I got a lot of things going on. So I'm on when I can be, but I forget Instagram. So I had this idea of, you know what, I'm going to take pictures of my little baby plants that I seeded and put them on Instagram. And then I can remember for our page, like for our Instagram. So I started an Instagram for my garden,
That's
and
smart.
you would be surprised of how many people are like gardeners and they just like want to chat with each other and give each other support and stuff. And it's actually really fun and it's kind of nice. Like I have an Instagram that I can go on, and all the people like I'm like starting to now follow certain people that are like my friends and family. But for the most on that one, it's just like gardening. And of course, with my son, fairy gardening too, because we have a fairy garden. So, you have to have some imaginary fun stuff too, but it's actually been quite nice to go outside. You have the time, you're outside in the, in nature, kind of doing your thing. And it's been actually quite nice. And like, I almost like, I've had mornings where I'm like, oh my God, I don't have time to go outside. And I'm like, you can have, like telling my husband, you can have this garden. I got to do this really quick. And then afterwards I was like, but after the hustle bustle, everything going on, I'm like, man, I really want to go outside and water the garden. So I'm out there in like the evening checking my garden. Like, did he water my garden properly? Like, like it ends up like that. But it's been actually pretty fun. And so far, majority of the plants are staying alive and they're prospering. They're looking really big and healthy and great. So something not expected, not planned. That wasn't my thing, but my husband made me a little area, fenced it in so the dogs don't get it, and was like, have a garden, get whatever you want. I was like, and then you start doing it. And I was like, oh, this is fun. This is, so you might not have even found that little thing that just gives you a little bit of peace for a few days. And the coolest thing is that my son goes out there and helps me water, but about sometimes halfway through, he'll say, Mommy, I'm tired. And then he'll just kind of leave. And we have a big swing chair thing. He'll just go get on the swing and be swinging. And so I'm out there in my garden and he's swinging, the dogs are laying on the ground. I'm like, this is me time all the way. Like, this is great. I was like, I don't know how he connects that because I've never like kicked him out, but he'd just be like, bye, mom. And I'm like, bye. Like, let's have our own time alone, you know?
He's like, your time and then my time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, if it makes, I mean, the one thing is kids do pay attention and they do see things. It's like we were talking about moms and meals. And when we got older, well, adults really, my mother, she was, you know, she's the master of the kitchen. But it's the kind of thing where you know your own kitchen, blah blah blah, and you're doing all the work, and you give people little tasks on the side to keep them busy and out of your hair. But she'd be like, it'd be like a holiday meal. She'd sit down, and then someone would ask, "Do we have any more turkey?" And she'd go to get up, and someone would say, "No, don't move. I'll get it." So yeah, we see our parents and we see what they're doing, and we can see when they're stressed and when they don't take enough time for themselves, and we can force them to. It's possible. So I mean, it's kind of weird because I mean, sometimes when people are trying to give you hints and you're like not getting a clue, that maybe perhaps your support people need to be a little more unsubtle. Just
Don't sugarcoat it.
don't sugarcoat it. Saying go somewhere,